What's going on guys, TaylorJacobs here, back with episode 2 of my Oblivion leveling guide. The short series where we take all the information from the leveling system and turn it into easy to understand videos. Today's episode we're covering birth signs. Roll the intro. Today's focus is birth signs. However, if you want to better understand how attributes work and which ones to select, you can go watch episode 1 by clicking the card in the top corner. I highly recommend this as some of the concepts from that episode carry on into this one as well as future episodes. You select your birth sign when progressing through the tutorial, which provides a large selection of bonuses to choose from. The birth signs can be categorized into 3 general groups: those that give you an attribute bonus, those that provide lesser or greater powers, and those that affect your magicka. Once you've selected a birth sign, you are unable to change it after leaving the tutorial area. In addition to birth signs, there are magical stones scattered all across Cyrodiil, and each birth sign has its own stone that grants power related to those stones. Now, some of these stones may provide a power that is just as good or sometimes better than the birth signs, making select birth signs of limited value. To start us off, we have the Apprentice. The Apprentice birth sign affects your magicka, bestowing the Apprentice birth sign ability, which has 2 permanent effects: Fortify Magicka for 100 points on self, and Weakness to Magic for 100% on self. Fortify Magicka will permanently increase your magicka pool by 100 points for the remainder of the game, whereas Weakness to Magic is the part that will make or break this birth sign, as it increases the damage you take from all forms of magic. For example, if you have Weakness to Magic for 100%, you will receive 12 points of damage from a basic flare spell, doubling the damage taken. Any effect listed as an offensive spell will also be enhanced by Weakness to Magic, including subsequent weakness effects. Therefore, Weakness to Magic for 50%, followed by Weakness to Fire for 50%, will result in a 75% magnitude on the Weakness to Fire effect. Because of this, being a high elf under the Apprentice birth sign will result in you dying extremely fast to all spells, because high elves already have a natural weakness to all fire, frost and shock spells. However, a Breton has a natural resistance to magic, which will counteract the negative effects of the Apprentice birth sign. Bretons also have a natural boost to willpower and intelligence, so you're adding 100 magicka to their already substantial magicka pool, getting a better use out of their natural bonuses. Any enchanted items with resistance to magic will also counteract the negative effects of the Apprentice birth sign, so always use items with resistance to magic when you can. The Atronach birth sign affects your magicka. It'll also bestow the Atronach birth sign ability, which has 3 permanent effects: Fortify Magicka for 150 points on self, Spell Absorption for 50% on self, and Stunted Magicka. Fortify Magicka will permanently increase your magicka pool by 150 points, which is the largest increase possible from a birth sign. You also gain 50% Spell Absorption. Spell Absorption is a percentage chance to convert all energy from a magical effect into usable magicka points, and avoid its potentially damaging effect. For example, if you had 50% Spell Absorption, on average half of the spells hostiles cast at you would simply refill your magicka and not deal any damage. It does not only apply to spells casted at your character, but also to magical damage caused by enchanted weapons. Now this may sound brilliant, but with these positives comes Stunted Magicka. Stunted Magicka prevents you from being able to regenerate magicka, nullifying the willpower attribute. You will not regain magicka over time, no matter how long you wait. You'll need to reuse Restore Magicka potions to gain your magicka. You will also need to utilize the 50% spell absorption bonus you have to refill your magicka. The Atronach birth sign goes very well with a high elf, granting an initial spell absorption effect, counteracting the high elf's natural weakness to all spells. It also goes well with a natural 100 magicka point bonus, netting a total of 250 points to your magicka pool at the beginning of the game, giving you the largest possible bonus to your magicka pool. The Atronach birth sign also pairs well with any non-magical class. As a warrior, for example, you will absorb 50% of all incoming magical effects, making combat significantly easier against spellcasting opponents. If you increase your spell absorption to 100%, you'll have a character who's immune to most magical effects. The Lady is a birth sign which affects your attributes, also bestowing the Lady's Blessing ability, which has the 2 permanent effects: Fortify Willpower for 10 points on self, and Fortify Endurance for 10 points on self. Fortify Willpower will permanently increase your willpower for 10 points for the remainder of the game, and Fortify Endurance will also permanently increase your endurance for 10 points for the remainder of the game. As explained in the last video, your total health points you gain each level is determined by your endurance at the time you level. Thus, increasing your endurance as quickly as possible early in your character's life will give you the highest potential for health later on. This early 10-point boost can be a big help. If you don't want to use the Akronach Birth Sign but are still planning on playing as a high elf spellcaster, then this is another good choice as it boosts your willpower and endurance to 50 each. Khajiits, Nords, Argonians, Dark Elves and Wood Elves may also find this birth sign useful. However, the Lady is not really recommended for Orcs who start with high endurance and willpower since they can utilise another birth sign. The Lord Birth Sign provides a lesser power, balanced by one permanent weakness. You will receive the Blood of the North lesser power, which will restore health at a rate of 6 points per second for 15 seconds on self, equating 90 points total. You can do this multiple times per day at the cost of 50 magicka each time you cast. This is by far the most efficient healing spell in the early and mid game until you achieve a high restoration skill. To balance Blood of the North, you also gain a permanent weakness to fire for 25%. This sign is especially useful for combat based characters as a spell can be cast multiple times to top up your health levels in the middle of a fight. Conversely, this sign is not recommended for magic based characters, especially if restoration is a major skill because you do not gain experience by using lesser powers. Dark Elf characters have a natural resistance to fire, so are particularly suited to this sign. High Elf characters on the other hand will probably want to avoid this sign due to their innate weakness to fire. The Lover's Birth Sign only provides a greater power called the Lover's Kiss. The Lover's Kiss will paralyze for 10 seconds on touch and damage fatigue for 120 points on self, once per day. So you will paralyze an enemy for 10 seconds but at the cost of 120 points of stamina. Your character might faint when this spell is cast if your fatigue is already low from jumping or attacking with weapons. So you might still be on the floor when your angry victim gets back up to take vengeance on you. Imperials can use their Stars of the West greater power to absorb 100 points of fatigue, mostly compensating for the damage caused by casting the Lover's Kiss. The Mage is a birth sign which affects your magicka, bestowing the Mage Birth Sign ability which has one permanent effect. Fortify magicka for 50 points on self, which is the lowest of all the birth signs. The Mage doesn't have any negative effects, it just simply increases your magicka pool, making this birth sign suited for mages who want a magicka bonus without any side effects. The other birth signs that provide magicka bonuses both have negative side effects. Any race would work well with the Mage if you want a small boost to your magicka without any side effects. There's no real reason to use this birth sign unless you're a new player and don't want to worry about the extra hindrance, then you can't go wrong with the Mage. The Ritual is a birth sign which provides one lesser and one greater power, Blessed Word and Mara's Gift. Blessed Word allows you to turn undead up to level 25 for 30 seconds on target multiple times per day at the cost of 40 magicka each time. Blessed Word will make any undead hostile under level 25 flee and avoid combat for 30 seconds. Mara's Gift will restore health for 200 points on self without costing you anything, however it can only be performed once per day. The restore health for 200 points is an instant effect, much like a strong healing potion. This is quite useful when in a pinch at lower levels, where it completely heals most characters. While its effects are less pronounced at higher levels, it still maintains a usefulness throughout the entire game. The Serpent Birth Sign provides one greater power, Serpent Spell, which can be cast once per day. This one spell will simultaneously cast all 4 of the following effects: damage health for 3 points for 20 seconds on touch, cure poison on self, dispel for 90 points on self, and damage fatigue for 100 points on self. Damage health will damage your enemies for a total of 60 points total. Cure poison is especially useful for all non-Argonian characters, healing any negative effects caused by a poison. Dispel will remove magicka-based spell effects from the target. Dispel will immediately cancel almost any magical effect that has a duration. However, it only works when the source of the effect is a spell. You may wish to use this spell to remove effects such as Absorb Attribute, Absorb Skill, Burden, Drain Attribute, Drain Health, Drain Magicka, and Silence. The Shadow Birth Sign provides one power, Moonshadow. Moonshadow is a greater power which allows you to turn invisible for 60 seconds on self once per day. It's important to note that like all invisibility effects, the power is immediately dispelled if the player interacts with any items such as doors or containers. The shadow seems very useful for thieves and assassins, although only being able to cast Moonshadow once per day can be a significant limitation. On top of that, once your renown reaches 10, you can visit the Jones Stone and acquire the ability to become invisible for 120 seconds once per day. This is twice as long as the Moonshadow power granted by the shadow, so you can have invisibility without choosing this birth sign. The Steed is a birth sign which affects your attributes, bestowing the Steed birth sign ability, which has one permanent effect: Fortify Speed for 20 points on self. This will give you an initial 20-point boost to your speed attribute. While you may not consider this a good birth sign, the proof is in the numbers. A wood elf with a class that focuses on speed would have a starting speed level of 75 when taking this birth sign. Early in the game, the speed attribute is very easily increased. By level 6, such a character has the potential to max their speed at 100 points. Races with low initial speed values, such as orcs, may also find this 20-point boost to speed useful in order to overcome the deficiency. If you also hate the drag down of heavy armor, this could be a helpful birth sign for you also. The Thief is a birth sign which affects your attributes, bestowing the Thief birth sign ability, which has 3 permanent effects: Fortify Agility for 10 points on self, Fortify Luck for 10 points on self, and Fortify Speed for 10 points on self. Fortify Agility will increase your initial agility by 10 points for the remainder of the game, increasing the total damage done by bows as well as other bonuses received from leveling agility. Fortify Speed will increase your speed by 10 points. The Thief and Steed birth signs are the only signs that increase your speed attribute. Fortify Luck will increase your initial luck by 10 points. Because luck affects all skills, this 10-point boost is handy. It equates to a 4-point boost in all your skills as far as effects. Luck is the slowest of all attributes to raise since it's not associated with any skills. This 10-point boost means you could potentially have all your stats maximized 10 levels earlier than you otherwise could, since luck can only ever be increased by 1 point per level. The Thief birth sign gives the player the greatest possible total bonus in terms of attributes of any of the birth signs. It adds a total of 30 points to your attributes, 10 points more than any other birth sign. The Thief is a great birth sign for any character who wants to have luck as a major attribute. The Tower birth sign provides 2 greater powers: Tower Key and Tower Warden. Tower Key will open an average lock on target once per day. Even so, the Tower birth sign Doomstone grants the Warden Key, which allows you to open a hard lock on target once per day. Therefore, the Doomstone provides a more powerful opening spell. These powers may seem useful at first, but you can pick any level lock with a single lockpick and a security skill of 1. So with a little practice, the lockpicking minigame becomes easy. Tower Warden is the more useful half of the Tower birth sign, having the ability to reflect 5% of damage for 120 seconds on self once per day. This birth sign is the only non-DLC way for your character to access reflect damage at the spell-making altar to make custom spells. However, you still cannot make custom enchantments with it. This is not a great birth sign for any thief-like character, as any amount of skill in security coupled with a high agility will make easy work of an average lock. Also, a good thief will want to practice security to help boost their agility modifiers. The Warrior is a birth sign which affects your attributes, bestowing the Warrior birth sign ability, which has 2 permanent effects: Fortify Endurance for 10 points on self, and Fortify Strength for 10 points on self. Just like the Lady, the Warrior will fortify your endurance, permanently increasing it by 10 points. As covered in the last video, increasing your endurance as quickly as possible early in your character's life will give you the highest potential for health later on. Fortify Strength will provide a 10-point initial bonus to your strength, increasing all damage dealt with melee weapons as well as other bonuses from leveling strength. Male Red Guards that are planning on using a stealth-based character will find this sign of particular use, because both strength and endurance will be difficult to raise. Starting both these stats at 60 will make a huge difference in survivability for such classes. Personally, I'd recommend choosing the Thief or the Warrior as your birth sign, as they both make efficient leveling significantly easier. However, with everything in Oblivion, the choice is completely up to you, and all birth signs fit certain roles. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below and I will do my best to answer them all. Feel free to subscribe for more Bethesda content, and thanks for watching, and remember, bless Paku.